Hey everyone, Jack here, TalkNorwichCity. Welcome back to another video. I hope you're all or as well as you can be at this stage. I start this week with a very familiar feeling surrounding Norwich City, one of doom, one of utter doom, and a intrigue around at what point does this change? At what point do the club go, okay, like we're either going to talk to you and explain our decision making, or there will be some change internally. At this stage, at time of recording, early on a Monday morning, neither of those things have happened. Now, this does feel like an important week in Norwich City's new era. Mark Atanasio will be travelling over this week, obviously our new owner, as part of Norfolk Holdings Group. They will be speaking publicly on BBC Radio Norfolk on Wednesday. They'll be taking a sort of a canary call special. So I suspect we'll get some answers then. Now, the line I have been told is they're not necessarily coming over to sack anyone, but like, come on, let's be real about this. They're not stupid, and they don't want to be owning a football club that sit within League One. And at the current rate of knots, that's exactly what will be happening next season if things don't change. Now, I read the latest piece from Connor Southwell in the Pink 'Un, and I was already pretty gloomy. My goodness me, was I more gloomy after this. Now, I think the context around this is that Norwich City, much like every single club in football, have an approach with their data. They have access to data that most other clubs do, but a belief that the way in which they interpret that will give them a marginal edge. You know, it's pretty simple stuff, in which their attempts to do this hasn't worked so far. Now, if we're looking at the data, now every data point here says that Norwich City are in a hell of a bad place, and this highlights it. Now, Norwich have lost 5 championship games in a row. The last time that happened was between October and November 2016 under Alex Neil, where they were beaten by Preston, Brighton, Leeds, QPR and Derby. Now, those 5 consecutive defeats also came after 6 wins in 7. There was an inconsistency in that group. Now, Norwich have won 2 games in the championship this season, both away from home at Portsmouth and Blackburn. This stat is the one that jumped out of my computer screen, right hooked me, and continued to punch me in the face while I was down on the floor. Now, we currently sit on 8 points. That's second from bottom. The only team below us is Sheffield Wednesday. They can't afford to pay their players and have -6 points after a -12 points deduction. At this stage last season, the 3 clubs that went down, which were Cardiff, Luton and Plymouth, all had more points than us, and quite a considerable amount more points. Cardiff had 12, Luton had 11, and Plymouth also had 12. For context, we have 8. Go the season before, 2023-2024, the 3 teams that went down were Rotherham, Huddersfield and Birmingham. Birmingham had 18 points, 10 more than us at this stage. Huddersfield had 12, 4 more points than us at this stage, and Rotherham had 9 points, 1 more point than us at this stage. Now, you might think, well, take me back to 2008-2009 under Glenn Roeder. That was a really bad Norwich team. They had 11 points at this stage, 3 more points than this side under Liam Manning at this stage has. Across the decade, 14 teams have taken 8 points or fewer at this stage in the season, with half of them being relegated to League One. Now, Liam Manning laughed off after I think it was the Bristol City game, I want to say, when he was asked to Norwich City in a relegation scrap. I think that points out a pretty key metric here. Norwich City are not only in a relegation scrap, the bare knuckle dusters, everything has come out here, and we are being hit from every single direction. We have a couple of options in how to navigate this. Stick with what we've got. Back Liam Manning, blindly. Give him January. Spend a load of money and hope that turns things around. Now, I've got a couple of questions there. 1, do you back Liam Manning to turn this around? Do you think that he's the motivator, the leader, the coach that this side needs at the moment? And 2, would you back Ben Napper to spend wisely in January? So that's option number 1. Option number 2 is you sack Liam Manning or Ben Napper, or both. I think both is probably what everyone wants. Let's say we sack Liam Manning but Ben Napper stays. Do you trust Ben Napper to get the next managerial appointment correct after the previous 2 projects have failed in Johannes Torup and Liam Manning? Do you trust Ben Napper to spend wisely in January? Do you trust him not to just pull the handbrake up again and switch things, and that makes the whole of this summer's recruitment completely irrelevant as well? We're in a sticky situation. There is absolutely no way to get around this, and Liam Manning is in a whole world of pain. It now means that he has a win percentage of 16.7%. That is worse than Gary Megson in 1995-1996. He had a win percentage of 18.5%. Charles O'Hagan in 1920-21 had a win percentage of 19%. And John Dean between 94 and 95 had a win percentage of 22.4%. Manning has the most defeats, joint fewest wins and lowest points return of any City manager in the first 12 games this century. Brian Hamilton is next nearest with 10, followed by Dean Smith with 12, although they arrived in the Premier League. Every single place you look, it gets worse. And sometimes these data metrics are anomalies, and sometimes you can see a way through. This is the concern for me. I don't see it within the squad. I don't see it within the system. I don't see an ability to change it in the recruitment market, because I don't understand what we're trying to necessarily do in that area. And surely it comes to a point where the Atanasios go, this isn't working and we need to change this. And I think this is why, and I come back to the top of the video, this is why this week feels so important, because it will be the first time since pre-season that we've heard from anyone really in power at Norwich City. Fair play to Mark Atanasio for coming over, for speaking publicly. And look, he's a great talker. He will know how to answer these questions. I don't think he will shy away from anything. I don't think they will vet the questions. Actually, I know they won't vet the questions before they go to Atanasio. So he'll have to be on his toes. But there was a great call on Canary Call on Saturday, which kind of made the point that why would Atanasio be coming over here and publicly backing Napper and Manning on radio? If that was the case, they'd kind of just stick by their plan of business as usual, right? They wouldn't need to feel the need to go on air and publicly back them. They'd just go, we believe in what's going on at the moment, let's see what happens. So I get the sense that something may change soon. I hope it changes soon. I've got to the point where I cannot wrap my head around another option of why it wouldn't change. You know, with the sacking of, go right the way back to, Daniel Farker, I was quite keen for change, but I understood why people may want to keep him. It was the same with Dean Smith. You know, it was the same with Wagner. It was the same with Johannes Torup. Whatever way in which my opinions sat, I could see the flip side. We're at the point now where I don't think anyone is defending Manning. I don't think anyone is defending Ben Napper. And I also, even if there were, I couldn't really see the logic for doing so, other than if you were Mark Atanasio and you've seen the trend in recent Norwich history with constantly chopping and changing, you must go at some point, well, this isn't working. We need a form of consistency to steady the ship. But there's things different in English sport to American sport. A thing called relegation exists. You can't just write this season off, finish bottom and go again next season, because you'll be in a completely different league. In League One, it will be tough for a team like Norwich City. It's going to be difficult, and I hope that this week there are answers and there are a fresh lease of life and an idea of how Norwich move forward, because that is almost the most painful thing at this stage. Is we don't know the next steps. We can't see a way forwards. The only thing that feels quite real in my eyes is Norwich gets sucked further and further and further into this relegation battle. We're already 8 points away from 17th place. That could well be 8 points between us and safety soon if this doesn't change. And what I'm really concerned about is Saturday, when we play Hull at home, early kickoff on the telly. I'm really concerned if Liam Manning is still in charge, how toxic it will get towards him. And I don't want to see anyone in really toxic situations. Nor do I want to see anyone really lose jobs, but we've got to the stage where that has to happen. And I hope for Manning that it doesn't get to that point. I hope he's kind of put out of his misery before then. And it's a really sad state. It's unravelled. It's unravelled really, really quickly. And let's hope that we see a bounce. I think there's enough quality in this side to get out of the relegation places. But in this current system, in this current phase, that won't happen. It's inevitable that Norwich lose matches. It was inevitable against Swansea. It was inevitable against Derby. It was inevitable against Bristol City. The list goes on. So, Mike Atanasio, I really hope that decisions are made for the good of this club and made very quickly. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.